Yo, what are you doing right now? We are going to get real about men's issues, who Jesus is, and who we are as men in Christ. We're going to hear Trey, Jeremy, Michael, and Brad break it down. These guys call themselves the Cussin Christians. All right, guys, what is going on?
You put this on the show?
I might cut it out.
Maybe cut it out. Maybe
Sure.
not.
I wouldn't put
But
it in.
people, it takes too much time to explain it. But those, I mean, some of us who are disciplined the right way, we kind of look back at it and kind of laugh, you know.
I look back and laugh, yeah.
Because it's called discipline for a reason. It's not supposed
Yeah.
to be a free-for-all where you're chasing your kid around with a stick and you're whacking it. Like, you're supposed to be, the parent is supposed to be under control. So it's discipline for them as well as for the kid. And my dad always, he was very measured, and he'd do the whole, you know, this hurts me more than it hurts you kind of thing. And
It's
that
like
kind of
you're walking to the gallows.
Oh,
dun, 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 dun.
yeah, he'd send me to the room and I have to sit and think about it.
Oh, and then you knew what's coming.
Well, there's one time my older brother's 4 years older than me, we were both going to get a spanking for something. And he was getting it first. And so while he was getting
you
spanking,
laughing?
I wasn't laughing because I knew I was next. But I thought, we had these wooden coasters and I stuck them in my back pockets and I got nothing to lose. So I stuck these wooden coasters in my back pockets, and he didn't catch it. So he did the thing, and I had to fake cry like, oh, no. It didn't hurt at all. It's like, dude, that was sweet. That totally worked.
Yeah.
Pulled it off.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
My parents, I will say, I've only spanked my kids maybe a handful of times, both their lives put together. But I will say, like, I'm very controlled about it.
Sure.
And I don't know why I have that ability. My parents did not practice that ability. I would get smacked right in the face.
Yeah.
Right.
Like mid whatever I'm saying. Like,
Yeah.
And but I don't know. Anytime that happens at our house, I will just be like, do you understand why this is happening?
Right.
And then when it's all over, like that way they understand, like, hey, I don't want to do this, but like
Right.
there are consequences, and
Well,
I think they should bring it back to schools.
Yeah, I do too. And my tendency, I'm surprised that I wasn't an abusive parent going through what I went through. And so all I had to do with one of my sons was just look at him cockeyed, and he was like, ah, you know.
That's the way I was with my son.
He'd stop. But
He knew.
But I wasn't abusive. Never have been.
Yeah,
and that's surprising
My
because
parents weren't abusive; they were just '80s parents. I mean, that's all. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
You talk back, you get smacked in the face. I mean, that's hunters like that. If I just raise my voice or just get deeper, that kid will start crying.
Yeah.
I mean, and it's
Well.
Now Corbin, on the other hand, that's a whole different animal. He used to put himself in timeout just so he was in control of the punishment.
That's a smart kid.
kidding.
No, so I would
Smart
move
kid.
the spots, and that would piss him off.
wow.
So, like that was because once I figured out he was doing that so he would win, so he could go where he wanted to go. So then I'd move the spot in the house where he was in timeout, and it would piss him off.
You're going to expect great things from this kid. man.
That's why
just
he's
go to
Hunter.
timeout.
I've spanked once in his life. The other in that handful we're talking about, we're all Corbin.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
Things are just so different. And I guess 25 years from now, when our boys are all sitting in this studio doing this podcast in place of us, they're going to be saying the same thing.
I'll still be around.
You'll still be there,
right.
and Corbin will still be going to timeout on his own.
I can't imagine being old.
You're right.
I look at old people, like, especially where they drive.
How many years you have to retirement?
Oh, I don't know. I could go now if I wanted to, but anyway, it's like
You're old.
I know. But I don't want to.
Sorry,
I don't want to be.
I gotta get my
feeble,
shots
man.
in. All right, like, I'm middle aged.
I don't want to be feeble.
Yeah.
I want to be viable. You know, I want to still. But isn't age kind of a mindset? Isn't that?
I think so.
I saw
If you let yourself go old.
a big sign of my age a couple weeks ago. I saw the need to replace a toilet in our house.
I remember talking to you on
Yeah.
the phone while I heard the wrench moving around.
So I learned some things that only a middle-aged guy knows. Like the average height of a toilet seat is about 15 inches off the ground. So I bought one that's 21 inches because I don't need to go below parallel.
Right.
Anymore, for those squatting term. And I also wanted a stronger flushing toilet because I was plunging it about once a week. And I thought flushing technology
Dude,
surely.
you need more fiber in your diet.
But I figured, flushing technology is probably advanced over 30 years. This toilet was 30 years old. So I was kind of excited to see, how's this going to flush? I haven't had to plunge it once since. But just the fact that, well, first of all, I called a plumber. I thought I'll pay a couple $100 to have somebody install it. It was going to be like $400. They said, "Oh, it's a $195 an hour,
call me,
and it'll take 2 hours." And I'm like, "Screw that!" Like, so that was my first old, middle-aged man moment. Like, I'm not paying that. I'll do it myself. And then the other was just the fact that I didn't want to sit down on a 15-inch high toilet. I want a taller toilet. I want stronger flushing toilet. So it's like, man, I'm officially my dad now.
Did it have surround sound and stuff like that installed? So you,
Not yet.
or did you have like a screen to come out that it's right in front of your face so you could read the?
Yeah, we'll get that.
Have you seen some of these Japanese toilets that are out there?
No.
Oh, they're cool.
Oh yeah.
Not gonna lie, they're cool. They got heated seats.
Wow.
They've got
don't need that here.
Programs in them. You can they got a whole screen that comes with the toilet that you can operate.
Every guy that all the 18,000 downloads or whatever we've had of our podcast over the couple of years, people always like the banter back and forth. We always hear, "We love how y'all just talk about stuff."
Yeah.
Right. I got to tell this before we get serious.
Thank you.
You know how
We're 10 minutes.
think
in,
about
bro.
what you guys want to. I know you can cut all most
You're
of
gonna
it.
cut the Cosbys out.
Yeah. You know how I like to sit at the bar and eat. And, when I travel, and there was these two large women that came in and sat down just a little bit off, and they had Scottish accents. And I said, "Wow, are you ladies from Scotland?" And she goes, "Wales, you idiot." And I said, "Oh, I'm sorry, are you Wales from Scotland?" And she said, I don't remember much after that.
No, you obviously don't.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Get
Michael.
that in, guys. Seriously, where do we go?
So here we go.
Hand of protection. That's where I want to go.
Well, buddy, I tell you, it was Saturday, and I talked to Peyton about this, and he just says, "Y'all got to go there." So we talked about politics last time,
And we recorded on Friday.
and we recorded on Friday. So it's been about 5 days since what happened. But Saturday night, July 13th. Mm-hmm. I got Donna and I got invited over to some dear friend's house, and it was stretchy pants and movie night. That's just eat a bunch of bad food, sit on the couch, watch a movie.
Do you have stretchy pants?
I do have.
What do you really?
I just wear sweats.
Oh, okay.
Gym shorts, yeah.
Gym shorts and sweats. Yeah, there ain't no secret meaning.
Okay.
And
I can't see.
we
yoga
eat this
pants.
amazing meal, and then we're about to settle in. It's about 6:45. We're about to settle in to watch the movie that Beth chose, and all of a sudden, bam! My phone starts blowing up, and I open it up, and the first picture I see was the raised fist of Donald Trump with the blood on his face. I look at the guys and I say, "Oh my gosh, guys, something big's happening." So instead of watching movies, that's what we tuned into for the next 2.5 hours. And in that time, like you guys, I felt every emotion imaginable. Number one, it was shock, disbelief, sadness. I felt a heaviness. I felt frustrated, as I'm processing what's going on. We're flipping back between news channels, and when that happens and I go to a channel that doesn't quite align with my political beliefs, start getting pissed off and all of these things. And at about 8:30, I look at Donna and I just say, "I just want to go home. I just feel sad. I want to go home." Was that night, the other night, how do you always talk about order. Mm-hmm. God first. And as Christians, guess what? God is first because he's a natural part of who we are. Mm-hmm. And it just seems like our country's not in order at all because we are so divided. 150 million voters, if you do the math, based on the last election. And it just seems like we got 150 million people in this country that focus on a Donald Trump, Joe Biden, a senator, a congressman, and whatever is going to fix everything, and we just totally put our focus on that. And it's no wonder our country seems like it's falling apart every day. At the same time, there's hope. I get it. There's hope, and I think there's going to be some revival, and I think Saturday night might have been one of those huge nights in history for us as a country. But
well, I got to tell you, I mean, I've not heard God spoken about so much in the media or on a political stage as we have since Saturday. Mm-hmm. Did you guys watch the RNC at all?
A little bit of it.
Bits and pieces, yeah.
Watch JD Vance's.
I didn't see JD.
Yeah, you can go to the cutouts and I'll just watch his or whatever. But he talks about God. He probably says God and faith 30 times in his speech in 5 minutes. Uh-huh. I mean, it was the whole thing. I mean, but it's how else do you explain how Donald Trump? I mean, if you see the analysis of this thing,
slowed down,
especially where you see the bullet, but like you can see where it hit his ear. And I mean, now we have technology, so like anybody that has the ability can actually do a model of where his head was and the exact angle he had to be at. I mean, if he turned it even more, it would hit the front of his brain. He turns it not enough, it hits the back of his brain. Either way, he's dead. Doesn't turn at all, it hits him right dead in the center.
Right.
I mean, so we're talking just like the Earth is on this axis that has to be just perfect, 1 degree.
Yeah, that's him right there. Yeah,
that's his head. I mean, that's why it hit his ear, not the temple.
Essentially, and didn't go through.
I mean, and that. I mean, he's not here today. If that doesn't happen,
right?
That's not a coincidence, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
The turmoil that would have caused in this country, I don't think. And I believe it's divine intervention. I really do. I think he was protected. Whether you believe in his whatever, I believe that he confesses with his mouth that Jesus is Lord, and I think he believes in his heart that God raised him from. I think he's a believer. Is he the perfect one? None of us are. And I think God protected him in that moment and protected our country from the turmoil that would have happened because of that.
Mm-hmm. Oh, the far right would have taken that. We'd be at civil war right now.
Dude, I was down in Clewiston. You talk about hilljacks, they would have come out of the woodwork over that one. There would have been a civil war over that.
Wow.
Big time.
Oh, yeah.
In the book of James, it says, to bridle your tongue. And what has been the vitriol and the garbage that has been coming out against this man, and it just perpetuated this sense of for this 20-year-old to be able to go and think that what he was going to do was put himself on the map. And I'm not so certain that there isn't some inside going on with this whole thing too.
I mean, if you saw that roof, I mean, I'm not in the Secret Service. Why would you have a vantage point? 100 yards that's nothing with a high-powered rifle.
Nothing.
I've killed deer at 600 plus. So I mean, shooting a person at 100, that'd be nothing.
Yeah. Well, the irony is that the building he was on top of is where all the police and there were some snipers inside the building.
In the air conditioning.
Right. They were underneath the guy while he was up there.
And the other one is the slope. Thing's basically a flat.
Yeah. The other thing is, all right, you're a cop and you peek up and the dude has got a rifle and he turns and I'm like,
why did you shoot him?
I would have shot him.
Yeah. I think they're taught not to engage or something. There's some, I've heard I've heard things about that, about them waiting to make sure and all this kind of stuff. So who knows?
The one angle that I saw yesterday, or I'm not sure what today is, might have been Tuesday, of someone that was in the crowd and kind of, if you're staring at Trump, they were off to the right, all right, and looking up, and you can see the sniper behind Trump's head, and you can see he's there, and as soon as Trump touches his ear, you see the recoil from that sniper. As soon as he touches his ear and he starts, you see the recoil, and it's fascinating video to watch. Did Trump seem different to you at the convention?
He seemed very humble.
Yeah, I imagine that would make you change your perspective a little bit, being that close to death.
Yeah. I just, sometimes it takes us having something I don't know if Trump's ever had anything traumatic in his life. I
guarantee he's not had that happen.
No, he hasn't had that. And, my moment was in 2010 where I started connecting the dots of who God really is. Your moment was getting knocked off a bike. Your moment was in a Panera. Mm-hmm. Was this Trump's moment? Where he starts connecting the dots of, I believe in Jesus instead, and now going, not only do I believe in Jesus, but he obviously believes in me because I'm sitting right here.
The reality is like when you look at it, like what other reason would he be doing this other than the country needs him to do it?
And he knows. I mean, you look at
he said it in an Oprah interview back in the 90s.
Yeah, he did.
She's like, will you ever run for president? Not unless the country needs me.
Right.
So before any of this, he was a Democrat back then.
Yeah.
Right.
So,
Garrett, he might have copied y'all on, sometimes he gets in our text messages but he said, no surprise, and this is how the elite work. They try to silence him. Mm-hmm. They banned him from all of the social media. The 94%, 95% of the news networks won't even cover him if he has a rally or whatever. That didn't work. He's still standing.
Yeah.
So they try to lock him up. That ain't working. the next thing is, well, let's just get rid of him.
It's crazy. Well, Michael, you touched on something. You already said it a couple times about the vitriol and the language that we're using. On Sunday, Pastor Mark spoke out of Romans 13, and he had planned this sermon months ago.
I know, that was fantastic.
And so it was about God and government. But one of the first things he said is we need to dial down the rhetoric on both sides, because when you hear somebody for 6-8 years, whatever, saying he's Hitler and it's going to be the end of democracy, and if he gets in office, everything's going to go south. I mean, we've heard rhetoric on both sides, but I've heard a lot more directed towards him like that. So, as people, we can dial down the rhetoric, and there is a line. I mean, there is a place where we need to speak up for truth, and we need to stand up for that. But kind of, and that's what social media lends itself to, is the dramatic saying this guy's Hitler,
right?
And he and his people, he and his followers are these radical, crazy people, and all this stuff. So it's no wonder that some deranged person thinks he's thinking, I'm going to do something about it.
I like to say that we are, with the social media piece, we are in a generation of we're in the they say generation, because I hear more arguments when people talk in politics. Well, they say that, and you ask who says it. Well, I saw it on a clip on social. Okay, but who posted that? Well, I'm not sure exactly who it was that posted it. We're in a they say generation where it's, I read this, so it's got to be true, and
consider the source.
And it's all about and quite frankly, I don't, on my social media stuff, I don't get anything fed to me other than red Republican type things.
That's why I like them all. I really do.
So you follow the other ones just so you get it.
I try to that way I can get both sides of the story.
Yeah.
Because otherwise I do only get the red stuff.
Because of the algorithm, that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's, if you ever watch, you'll see where I like everything. I do. But it's
I notice your name's on a lot of stuff.
a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Like good and bad.
Right.
And that's because I want to see everything. I don't want to just see.
Well, I need to do that. I always just go.
Well, and then the comments about Jack Black's concert.
Oh my gosh, that was awful.
I didn't hear about that one.
Down in Australia, he's got.
Was it him or one of his bandmates?
It was his bandmate.
Yeah, they were celebrating his birthday. So, what's your birthday
Tenacious
wish?
D.
And the guy said, "My birthday wish is they wouldn't.
Don't miss Trump.
Don't
next
miss
time.
Trump next time."
Jack Black said that?
No,
His bandmate.
the other guy, Tenacious D. It's the other guy.
Oh.
And so, but Jack Black, to his credit, canceled the tour.
Yeah.
And he said, I'm not for any kind of hate speech or violence or any of that. He said, I don't condone it. So he canceled the rest of the tour. And his partner, the guy that said it, now he's come out and he's apologetic and he's, I shouldn't have said it, blah, blah, blah. But too late, man. It's out there.
Right.
Forever.
Well, that's the problem. We have so many people that have access to this stuff now, and there are people out there that are mentally ill, and I mean they're truly mentally ill. They have issues, and you can believe what a mental illness is up to you to think about. But they hear this stuff, and then this kid. I mean, he probably was a nice guy, like at one point in time, right? But he hears it. He's probably got some sort of mental illness going on, some sort of spiritual battle going on, whatever you want to call it. And all of a sudden, it manifests in this kid over time, and now he's putting himself on a roof to shoot the president. Yeah.
So why is the vitriol so strong against him? Because I think he went in for the first 4 years and realized he didn't go deep enough with the swamp. Mm-mm. And I think they're really afraid that their status quo is going to be ended when he goes in.
Well, they're at the risk of losing the House and the Congress, right? So, I mean, they lose all three.
The Senate and
the Senate and the House.
Right.
Sorry. I mean, there's going to be a lot of swamp drainage. I mean,
yeah.
Well,
it's just pure evil.
Let's circle back. How out of order is our country? I mean, Mr. Out of Order guy.
The order of things. I've been out of order before, and my life has been a mess. And I shared it again Tuesday night, and I think you shared it in chapel on Monday. And we have to get back into order in our lives as believers and non-believers. When you're a non-believer, your life is not in order when you put other things first before God. And we're seeing that. We're seeing that in these cities, on our campuses, and one of the scriptures to do with Israel, God says, if I will bless those that bless me, and I will curse those that curse me, talking about the nation of Israel and the people of Israel. When you're out of that order, nothing goes right. You can feel it, it, and that's what's happening on our campuses because, they're supporting Palestine. and now we've got a government and people in this government and the media that are speaking things, and they're out of order. They really are.
I think there's a problem with idolatry in our country.
Yes.
There's like political idolatry.
Yeah.
There's racial idolatry where everything is viewed through that lens.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of the problem. All their eggs are in their political candidates basket. And if it looks like they're losing or whatever, then they're desperate because they got nothing else. If their candidate doesn't win, then what? Then it's the end of democracy, and our country's going to fall into the ocean and all this kind of nonsense. And we talked about this couple weeks ago about how when in the order of things, when you truly believe that God is in control of it all, we look to Him even when things don't look like they're going well. And we talked about His providence a couple months ago too.
Yeah.
God is in control of everything. So do we believe that God let that guy get on the roof and take a shot, and that God directed Trump's head at the right moment? I mean, do we believe that? Because when we talk about God's providence, He's in control of it all. And He could have let it happen. He could have let him be taken out. But I think there was intervention there as well.
And I want to encourage people, because I used to be so intense with the politics. I just don't anymore. I was out of order, Trey.
I would hate to see you intense.
Oh, dude.
We haven't seen it yet.
If I've not seen it yet, then I don't even want to know who you were.
I know. And you would have. But November 6th, when I wake up November 6th, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be that person that's, when I saw the convention afterwards when Hillary lost, all the people crying and weeping.
On the election night?
Our world is over. And it's like, I'm not going to go there.
Sun will come up tomorrow.
That's right.
God's will, that sun will come up.
Because I'm in order now, Trey. I am.
We are in an order. We focus on who we are as Christians, the Christian identity first. Things seem to work out. And he said, take a prime example. You're in a 40-mile-an-hour speed zone, and you're coming up on a school. There's a sign that says speed bump, right? Mm-hmm. And it's set there for a reason, to keep safety on the other side. The safety for those kids that might. My brother did it when he was 4 years old. He darted out in front of an ice cream truck and got nailed. Wow. That's why he's so screwed up today. But what happens when we don't focus on the speed bump? Chaos.
Yeah.
You knock the alignment out of your car. Your wife's pissed off at you. You're mad.
Coffee's on your lap.
Coffee's on your lap.
Kids in the back seat hit the ceiling.
Yeah.
Well, not now.
Crying.
They wear seatbelts. Back when I was a kid.
Back when I was a kid, I was in the front seat next to my dad, and he had his arm around me.
Or laying in the back glass.
Yeah. And we actually focus on what keeps us safe. And in these times, instead of focusing on things that make us in disarray, the political divide or whatever that idol is that you talk about, Jesus is that speed bump that we focus on. And as we focus on that, we're going to get through with safety most of the time. We still might screw up. Someone else might be coming the other way that doesn't see the speed bump and creams off that and head-ons your car. But at the same time, when we focus on it, that's all we can worry about is how we focus on things. And I just thought it was a great analogy. I never thought of it that way. And I told Brian, I said, I'm going to start talking about that. I'll give you credit for it, just like I gave you credit for the out-of-order piece. Michael from Florida said this. But, guys, it's just, in the Romans 1, we were talking about Romans 13 and government. But I looked at Romans 1 after, and this was after Sunday's message. And Paul writes, the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and all unrighteousness. He goes on to say, for what can be known about God is plain to them. He makes it apparent what's right, what's wrong. Just walking on this earth, he gives you every identification of him, whether it's the gorgeous sunset that he paints for us in the evening, or whether it's the speed bump you got past and you realize it was him, and all those things. Yet he says what can be known about God is plain to see because God has shown it to them. And then he says, but then they don't honor God or give him thanks for that. But they become futile in their thinking, and their foolish hearts were darkened. And then after that, it's like God says, well, Tell you what, therefore, he gave them up to the lust of their hearts. That said, hey, I've shown you everything.
Yep.
It's been made apparent to you, whether you're Republican or Democrat. You ain't doing it the way I showed you. So go ahead, try it on your own and see what happens.
It's a scary place to be.
And that's a scary place to be. And I just feel like maybe Saturday, with that bullet going through his, piercing his ear, that might be a moment where we go, time out. Wait a minute. Is it going to take a 9/11 catastrophe for us to come back together as a country and know that we're going to disagree, but we're not going to line up and it's all about the party. It's all about the party. It's all about being Catholic or all about being Baptist or all about being Methodist or whatever. Why isn't it just we line up and say it's all about Jesus? And you know what? That Baptist church is on the corner. It's closest to my house. That's where I go to talk. That's where I go just to get fed about Jesus.
Well, and I think some people may come around seeing that and say, man, that God's hand was in, preserving Trump's life for that. But there's other people that are doubling down already that are saying it was fixed or it was a hoax or they don't believe it really happened or whatever. And those are the people he's talking about, that he's going to give them over to a depraved mind.
I'm just going to give you over.
They're already there because, believing that was all rigged or fixed or whatever. It's like those people's hearts are becoming more and more hardened.
There was one commentator, and I'm not going to mention her name, but I saw a clip. I saw a clip of her. Right after it happened. Well, we can't assume he's been shot yet. He did fall. Maybe he cut his ear when he fell.
Yeah.
And then if you do the freeze frame, you can see his hand like that, and you can see the blood on his hand. And I'm like, really? Mm-hmm. Someone's dead behind him. And you don't think that was...
And that guy's a hero, by the way. That guy that threw himself in front of his wife and daughter to shield him from the bullet, and he got taken out. Wow. I mean, that dude's a real hero.
Yeah.
Satan's purpose to rob, steal, and destroy.
Right.
And to cause fear, and he's a liar. So why wouldn't there be lies out? Why wouldn't there be people lying about everything imaginable? Because it's the truth that sets us free, and we've found the truth, and we have gotten our lives in order. And then as Christians, as we kind of stray sometimes, and, when we get back into that order of things, there's peace. It's a peace that surpasses all understanding. So none of this political crap is going to steal my joy. It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, why do we do this? We do this to bring others into the saving knowledge of Jesus Christ, and to let people know that we're just average guys, and we like to talk about things that are happening in our lives, in our families, in our workplaces, and we do this. And we always, whenever I leave here, I always feel so full because of, I know you guys are going through stuff, and you're handling it with grace and love, and you're doing the right things to get yourself back in order. And that's why I look forward to these, and I look forward to going to church on Sundays to see other believers gathered and to hear a message and hear you riff on the guitar that's just crazy good. And so, guys, if somebody clicks on this while we post it next week, find somebody to ask questions about a relationship with Jesus Christ, because that's the only thing that's going to get you where you need to be, whether it's heaven or in right standing and in right order with God.
And walking kingdom right now, walking this out on this earth. You think about leadership, the kings of the history of the Bible. There were some scumbags that the Lord allowed to be king. Some of them didn't last long. Some of them lasted a long time.
Yep.
There's more scumbags than there are what we would consider godly guys, right?
Yep.
And that's lessons
even
learned.
Some of the best weren't that great. I mean,
some of the best weren't that great. You got a good point.
I mean, David was probably what we would call the best king, right? I mean, am I wrong? And called a man after God's own heart.
Yeah, the lineage to Jesus goes right through his bloodline.
And
he was very flawed.
Very flawed.
Pretty damn flawed.
Yeah. I give you an example of something and it hit me Monday or Tuesday. I'm driving, and I thought about a church I used to go to. I don't know why the Lord put this in my brain, but I used to go to this church, pretty big, fast-growing church in the Orlando area. And the pastor was an amazing, he could bring it from the stage where you're like, just keep talking, I'm taking notes. had a special needs child, things like that. And then one day we show up to church. We joined the church. One day we showed up at the church, and the bishop, the regional type leader guy, was on stage telling us, I hate to inform you, but the pastor was caught in a moral failure, sexual sin outside of his marriage, so we've had to ask him to step down. So the shame started, the finger pointing started. And you hear about it, Tollian, we have others, Nate, all these guys that were pastors that had a moral failure. And I remember seeing him about 3 months after it happened, and I was getting alterations on a jacket or something at a seamstress store. And there was a lady, her back was to me when I walked in, and there was a curtain, and I assumed her husband was in there because she's talking to her husband. And when he spoke back, I recognized his voice. I went, that's my old pastor. And he opened it up. He looked sheepish. He looked frail. But she was there with him still, gave him grace, and he was getting his suit refitted so he could go interview for jobs. And I just said hi to him, just said, I'm praying for you. And for some reason on LinkedIn, he came up as a possible connection. And I clicked on him. And his ministry has turned from being that, this was 20 years ago, to he now runs an amazing not-for-profit in Chicago area where they set up benefit programs for families with disabled children. And he's all over the place. And so Trump can take all that baggage that they say he did, and then Saturday happened. Maybe that's the God moment in his life to connect the dots to say, you know what? I'm going to continue with my policies. My rhetoric's going to change a little. I'm still going to be fiery. I'm still going to, and take all that personality stuff out of the equation. I don't know. I just thought about that old pastor of mine. What a redemption story.
Amen.
What a redemption story.
Can I read a scripture to you?
Read it, man.
2 Chronicles 20. Remember? Now it happened after this that the Moabites and Ammonites, together with some of the Meunites, came to make war against Jehoshaphat. Then it was reported to Jehoshaphat, a great multitude has come against you from beyond the Dead Sea, out of Aram, Syria, and behold, they are in Hazazon Tamar, that is En Gedi. Then Jehoshaphat was afraid and set himself determinedly as a vital need to seek the Lord. And he proclaimed a fast throughout all Judah. So the people of Judah gathered together to seek help from the Lord. Indeed, they came from all the cities of Judah to seek the Lord, longing for him with all their heart.
I think that, we're watching, I think God gave us this country over to its own depraved mind the last 4 years. I think so. I mean, and I think people, if you're watching, and I'm not talking CNN, Fox, but if you go out there and actually talk to people and you find out where they sit, most of them don't sit that far left. Most of them don't sit that far right.
Yeah.
It's one or two issues they really care about. And whether that's abortion, whether it's marriage of gay people, whatever it is, maybe it's something else, right? But that's where they sit, and they just tend to vote for those 1 to 3 things that they really care about, and then otherwise they just kind of trust the government's going to do the right thing. But if you look at it, it's gone so far out of whack that even people on the left aren't liking the left, even people on the right aren't liking the right, and people are now seeking this truth that's in them, right? And they may not know what that is.
We've talked about that before.
But I think that, to your point, I think we're Judah at this point as a country, and we're all seeking this peace that we're trying to find. And in that moment that happened, I mean, all the news channels are talking, it had to be a God moment. Now, whether they're saying it in a Christian point of view, like you'll probably see on Fox, or you'll see, J.D. Vance talk about, or it's just, man, what are the chances that happen? That's a miracle he didn't get killed. Maybe that's I don't know what CNN's saying. I haven't watched them lately. But my point is, it's bringing us to a point where people are talking about it and getting God back in the conversation, right? Do we want to have this in our schools? Do we want to have that in our schools? Do we want to, and I think it's bringing us back together the way it's supposed to. Is it comfortable? No. I mean, God cleaned the earth the last time. It wasn't comfortable at all.
No, it wasn't.
But he had to get rid of all the sin, and he said he won't do it again. So the next time will be worse. But I mean, I think that it's us as a country and as a world. I mean, whatever the U.S. does, the world follows. So I mean, I think this moment was needed, and I think God put it in there for a reason.
Mm-hmm. We take for granted, what we have here. We're so spoiled in 248 years. I mean, we set up a system that through a capitalistic society and the freedom of religious freedom thing and everything else that set us up great. But it also, through those freedoms, which we need, has created a lot of polarization. But I think I told y'all this last week when we were in Canada on the last stop in Canada last week. There was a young couple that we met that walked up to us and said, "Man, I had to come back and talk to you guys because y'all are believers, aren't you?" And we started talking about him, Canada, and he says, "I wish I could sit out on a street corner and pray like this all the time because it's frowned upon." And then we had a brother join the military meeting Tuesday night for our Warriors meeting that's from Canada. And the legislation they're trying to pass in Canada right now is if I open this up and turn to 1 Corinthians, or I open this up and turn to Leviticus and talk about God's law against homosexuality, my religious exemption is stripped away and I can be prosecuted for it.
Wow. Yeah.
They're basically trying to tear out pages of the Bible that you can't quote in public. Mm-hmm. And
coming to a theater near you, brother.
Could it be coming to us? Something like that with that type of mentality. And every Canadian I've ever known, we met some people on our honeymoon years ago that we still keep in contact with. And it was when Trump was running against Hillary, and we were with him up in Niagara, and we were touring the southern Canadian border and the wine country up there. And he goes, "It's so much fun watching your country get so bent out of shape on Trump and Hillary." And they don't get Fox News broadcast. It's only CNN at the time. I'm not sure if Fox is up there or not. He goes, "But it's so fun to watch because he said something like you get your panties in a wad." Joe, if you're listening, I hope you are. And I kind of cracked up. I said, "What about you guys?" He goes, "Hey man, we always have a liberal in office and we're always getting taxed 60%. We just don't give a shit anymore." That was his quote. "We just don't care anymore. We just know we're going to get oppressed through the high taxation and the liberal causes. So we just pay attention to our own and let everybody else do their own thing."
It's very Canadian.
Yeah, very Canadian. And we weren't founded to be corrupt. We were founded to take corruption out. Mm-hmm. Yet that makes our corruption the worst in the whole world right now because we're not supposed to be that way. You think about Venezuela, or you think about some of these other countries where it's authoritative rule and the corruption that goes on. You look at Putin. I mean, he keeps getting elected for some reason.
Well, yeah, because if you go run against him, you end up like Trump.
Bingo. Exactly. And I looked at someone the other day in a setting. I said, "I totally believe we have the most corrupt government in the world." And because we went from a government that was supposed to ensure against that to where we are today.
We just have to be better at it, right?
Yeah, we're really good at it. Yeah. So that's just I'll probably get a note saying you're full of crap, but that's just kind of how I feel.
America's the best country in the world.
We're still the best. We're still the best, but
even at corruption,
even with the corruption,
still have thousands crossing the border to get here.
Yep, they're coming for a reason. Part of what's going on with just kind of this wokeness and this the messaging that's basically against God's word and what we feel that's happening in our country is really happening on our college campuses. And we're going to have what we're calling now the Big Tent Revival, University of Florida, Gainesville, September 5th. Zach Williams, Tim Tebow are going to be joining us. We got Gary Miracle. We got DJ Lagway from the quarterback from the University of Florida. We and some others that are being worked on right now. We're just going to bring a night of truth, hope in Christ, and a message of perseverance from University of Florida students that are going to be speaking and giving a message of hope and perseverance to their fellow classmates and families. You can get in for as little as $27.50.
Nice.
So
I spent more money than that at McDonald's last night.
that's
believe
what's
it.
scary,
Me and two
bro.
kids.
That's what's scary.
So if you can do that at McDonald's, come out and see a better show.
Yeah, come on out. It's going to be a great night of inspiration, a night of worship. Tim Tebow, we saw him less than a month ago here that just rocked the house with his message of hope and grace. And Zach Williams' music is exactly what our ministry is about. So check it out. Go online, Ticketmaster.com. If you're in the Gainesville area, stop by the O'Connell Center and get your tickets there. Class is starting in about 3 weeks, so Gainesville is about to increase by about 50,000 people, their population. And we're just hoping that about 6,000 or 7,000 of those 50-something thousand will be there. And we're on track to do it. So please check it out. Also, just check out our Facebook page. Check out our new Instagram page, which is at MPACT Ministry. You're going to see a lot of cool stuff that my brother Brad is artwork and video that he's put up there. That's now been boosted, and
Sweet.
we've had over like 20-something thousand views of that now.
Nice.
So it's and our following on Instagram has doubled in the past couple of weeks. So that's really cool. So check us out.
So our wives joined. So it went from 4 to 8.
It went from 4 to 8. Exactly. Went from 4 to 8. Actually, this page is a new page for us.
Nice.
We decided that we needed to format a new page and a little more video driven than the old one was. And the old one's going to be phased out after we get through with this event and then the event at the end of September. So check it out. It doesn't cost you a dime just to like it, to give us a note, give us a hey, and share it with somebody out there. And then other than that, pray for our country, pray for our leaders, pray for us, pray for your families, just to keep God in focus as first in your life, and let the order of God shine the way He intended it. Amen. Seek thee first the kingdom of God. Let's do that always. I'm Trey.
I'm Michael.
I'm Brad.
I'm Jeremy.
We are the Cussin Christians.
You went too fast.
I did.
You threw that whole thing off.
Dude,
I know.
out of order.
Usually I was out of order.
You were out of order.
And we are the
Cussin Christians.
Get it.
100 and some odd episodes, and today you choose to hit the fast forward button.
I did.
What was that?
I was thinking I'm about to go replace a microwave oven in the house. And I'm not good at it, so
That got you all excited.
I got my posse to come help me. So
Mike is the man.
Michael's the hand.